My message is simple. No matter how powerful you are, no matter how much money you think you may have, no one is above the law.
New York Attorney General Letitia James, who obviously brought the charges and won against President Donald Trump, has just been indicted.
Stand up and enforce the rule of law. The President of these United States is not above the law.
You'll find out, and they'll find out too.
Well, our democracy just got a little bit smaller as Donald Trump indicted another political opponent.
Well, what do we have here? Letitia James has been defeated again because President Trump has successfully had his DOJ indict this wench. This is a lady who, again, let me remind you guys, ran on prosecuting President Trump before he was president the second time. She called white people, well, she called his cabinet too male, too pale, and too stale. This lady was a straight up demon, wasn't even the AG, and was saying that she was going to prosecute Trump, running on that.
I say one name, Donald Trump. That should motivate you. Get off your ass and vote.
Will you sue him for us?
Oh, we're going to definitely sue him. We're going to be a real pain in the ass. He's going to know my name personally.
And now she has been indicted on mortgage fraud, which I've talked about previously on this channel. And what's hilarious about this is that the radical left Democrats, including fake news CNN, are over here melting down about this, acknowledging that Trump's indictments were wrong, but trying to say, well, two wrongs don't make a right, even though they literally didn't have anything to say while it was actually happening to President Trump.
There's a message from the president, right, on Truth Social to his attorney general 5 days before Jim Comey was indicted that said, Pam, what about Comey, Adam Shifty Schiff, Letitia, ? And that, of course, is referring to Letitia James. So now 2 of those 3 people have been indicted.
Yeah. So I want to pick up on something that Senator Slotkin said. She said she was warning people about the potential slippery slope of where we go from here. Perfectly fine point to make. What it misses is that we are way down a slippery slope, like way down, right? And I'm perfectly happy to say that what Trump is doing is worse than what Obama did or than what Biden did. And people will say, but, you know, but that's how slippery slopes work, right? Things get worse the further down you go on them. And there were cases that were brought against Donald Trump that have no business being brought. Zero. There were other cases against Donald Trump that I think were slam dunks because he was guilty, like the obstruction thing. Yes. They all got conflated into one thing. In this case, all I know is what we've reported on air about Letitia James. It sounds pretty flimsy. I think the Comey thing is outrageously flimsy. And the answer that you get from Trump defenders is, well, they started it first, and so therefore 2 wrongs make a right. And I don't think that's a very sophisticated argument.
Do 2 wrongs make a right, Scott?
Well, the implication that I don't support the Constitution that you made notwithstanding.
I did not say that.
It gives me being an
He's
original.
Just famous for being a constitutional originalist.
Here's what I think. If Democrats like Slotkin are going to come out today and whine about selective prosecutions over Tish James, her entire career is built on the selective prosecution of one man. Now, I also believe what Elliot said. There's a process here. Everybody gets their day in court. Obviously, a grand jury saw enough evidence to bring charges. We don't know what they are, but a grand jury looked at this and says, okay, there's something here. She gets to go to court just like Comey, just like anyone else. But to me, it's just not going to fly to boo-hoo over selective prosecutions on this particular person who promised in her campaigns, who went after him on things, as Jonah said, that had no business ever happening, if not but for the man's last name being Trump. So I'm not going to...
But how is that not a 2 wrongs make a right argument?
I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm saying she gets her day in court. I'm saying a grand jury saw enough evidence to bring charges, and I'm saying she gets to go to court and tell her side of the story, and then we'll see what happens. But I'm just arguing the political debating issue here. Democrats are going to say, this is the first time we've ever had somebody go down the road of selective prosecutions on her? Yeah. Give me a break.
No, I agree with that.
I'm glad that CNN has at least one voice of reason here, because Scott is absolutely right. How are you going to sit up here and basically not say anything when she literally ran on this? President Trump he didn't run on this. He said that there was going to be accountability for people who were weaponizing the justice system. That's not retribution. That's like saying that, hey, if somebody shoots and kills your family member, by therefore prosecuting them, you're committing retribution. No, they're literally breaking the law. They're doing wrong to you. That's like saying if the police frame your brother for a crime and then you want to prosecute that police officer for framing your brother, then, oh, you're committing retribution. These people are so stupid. And what's crazy is that some people actually believe this. It's like, it sounds so dumb. That's what I don't get. How do you sound so dumb in your arguments and you literally got a bunch of freaking dodo brains who actually believe this nonsense? It is incredible.
All right, folks, this is something that should terrify everybody. Donald Trump is now actively having his Department of Justice indict people who are his adversaries. This is what fascists do, folks. They go after their political enemies. No other president has ever done this before.
But it didn't stop there, guys. I'll show you one last clip here of fake news CNN. Again, the clown news network, where you have one of these propagandists over here saying, well, hey, everybody commits mortgage fraud, so what's the big deal? I'm like, do we need to investigate you too?
What Tish James, and again, we're still getting the details, but if it's related to this mortgage issue, I mean, this is something that everyone in America, or many people at least, if you're lucky enough to be able to buy a house in America, you deal with this, right? The federal government doesn't go after all of these people for doing this. Does that play a role here? I mean, how often has there been a federal indictment for a bank fraud type of situation like the one we see here?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a huge difference, right? Because what Comey was charged with is essentially a process crime. And you're exactly right. It doesn't go to sort of the underlying, wrongness. It's perhaps something he said, back in 2017, but it's a process crime. Mortgage fraud is something, it is really bread and butter of most of the prosecutors' offices in federal offices across the country. I mean, they bring hundreds and hundreds of these types of cases every year. This is something that's not reserved for, the few Jim Comeys of the world. This is something that we charge every single day.
Can't speak for everybody, but I filled out mortgage loan paperwork before. And in this paperwork, it literally tells you on a bunch of pages, hey, I certify that everything that I put here is true and you could be prosecuted if you're giving fraudulent information. I'm sure that's what it says also out in New York as well. So anybody is subject to this. Anybody can get prosecuted for this. Why would Tish James be above the law? Why are so many people in the fake news out here coming out and basically defending this, with ignoring the merits of the case entirely, basically saying it's retribution against Trump's political opponent? Why is it like this, where you got Democrats who are openly admitting that they're going to go after President Trump, and they just kind of don't care? The fake news doesn't really say anything about it. But then when somebody actually does something wrong that happens to be a Democrat and they happen to be prosecuted, then all of a sudden the freaking sky is falling and they want to sit up here crying. These people make me sick consistently. Now, is this a winnable case? Are they going to be able to prove that she has consistently committed these acts? I mean, the only reason why I would say probably not is because, again, she's out there in New York. She's their attorney general. So it just depends. Just like how they managed to fraudulently convict President Trump of those felonies out there in New York, the jury is probably going to be biased against President Trump again and say, oh, well, this is just political prosecution, and then they'll probably throw it out. But in actuality, is she guilty? And this is going to take up a lot of her time and money and energy and frustrate her. Abso-freaking-lutely. Same thing she did to President Trump. So as far as I'm concerned, what goes around comes around. But these are my thoughts, guys. Let me know what you guys think. Drop a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. I appreciate you watching the Black Anomaly. Rise to the channel. I'm out.
A complete violation of American law, a complete violation of our democracy. This is Banana Republic. This is fascism. This is dictatorship.
Crier. He cries every time he speaks. This guy's got a mental disorder. He cries every time this guy gets up to speak. He starts crying.